morning, boys and girls. This is English lesson for Thursday the 7th of January for Mr Wakeham's class and my class. Right, we're just going to quickly go through some of the answers that from the questions I gave you yesterday about the front cover of the book and the blurb. Just to give us a quick reminder of these things. So you were asked to name the title, author and illustrator. So it's The Butterfly Lion. The author is Michael Morpurgo. And the illustrator was Christian Birmingham. Where do you think this story takes place and how do you know this? Well, I was hoping you children have said you think it takes place in Africa, and you know this because of the picture on the front. Something along those lines would be an acceptable answer. What do you think this story is about? Well, again, I'm hoping you're looking at the picture here. You've looked at the title, you've also looked at the picture on the front. You think it's going to be about some sort of lion. I think we're not sure what this butterfly bit means at the beginning, but as long as you've said it's about a lion. What is a blurb and what do you think the purpose of a blurb is? Well, a blurb is a little bit of information on the back of the book that gives you a bit of an introduction to the story. It tries to entice you in, it tries to persuade you to really read this story. It's a really great bit of information. It gets you thinking, it makes you want to read the book and pick it up. A blurb will never give away too much information though, it won't tell you everything, and that's why you want to pick it up and read it. Who is Bertie? Well, it says in the back there in the blurb itself, it says that Bertie is a young boy at a boarding school, so that's who Bertie is. Who has a close friendship? Well, it looks to me from the blurb that it's Bertie and the lion have this close friendship. Where does Bertie go? Bertie is sent to England to boarding school. What happens to the white lion? From the blurb at the back, it says the lion is sold to a circus. And which words tell you that Bertie and the lion will meet again? Is this little bit here, children, where it says Bertie swears that one day they will see one another again. That's telling us that something else, they're going to meet again later in the story. I hope that was okay for you, and thank you to those children who managed to upload back onto Teams for me. Okay, so today we're looking at writing a description of the settings. But first of all, let's just recap who we've come across so far when I was reading the story yesterday. Who are our characters? We know we've got a boy at the very beginning of the story who's run away from school. And we've got a lady in a house. He meets a lady, goes into her house. And we've also met Bertie, who the lady is talking about in the house. And we've had a mention of a lion as well. And these key characters are going to come into our story an awful lot. You need to know those children. What's really interesting about this story is it's a story within another story. So at the beginning, we've got this story going on in England. We've got a boy who runs away from school because he's unhappy, he's lonely, he misses his parents, he's being bullied. And he runs away and he finds this house and he finds the lady. And they sit down and they have scones and they have tea. So we've got this story going on. And as we've got this story going on, the lady decides to tell a story about Africa. She starts to tell about a story about a boy called Bertie. And she starts talking about a lion. And that's where we got up to really yesterday when I was reading to you. But it is the lady in the house telling the Africa story to the boy. So we've got these two stories going on. I think this is quite an interesting structure to a story. You'll find, children, as you become better readers, that stories can be structured like this. You can have a story within a story. I read one recently. It was a murder mystery within another murder mystery. It was really, really clever. And as a reader, it's sort of quite exciting because you get these two stories. So it's set in two places. We've got this England setting going on where it's wet and cold, where the boy runs away. He finds a strange, huge old house. It's a little bit spooky. And then we've got this idea that there's an Africa setting where there's a large house and a huge compound, where outside of the compound is a veld and a water hole where animals live. Yeah? It's a contrast. It's different. There's two very different places going on. The The reader begins the story in this wet, cold place, and suddenly you're taken to this beautiful, warm, sunny, huge place in Africa full of animals and strange things going on. It's very clever. It's very clever. Michael Morpurgo actually does this quite a few times in his stories. He writes a story within a story. It's one of the structures that he quite likes about his writing, about when he writes books. So what am I going to ask you to do today, children, with this? I'm going to ask you to write me two descriptions, two descriptive settings. You're going to write a description of the setting in England, and you're going to write a description of the setting in Africa. You might want to go back onto YouTube and to listen to me read those stories again. That's absolutely fine, that part of the story. And you might need to slow it down and pull out a few adjectives to help you along the way, but you might also want to choose some of your own. So it's a bit of a mixture there. Choose some of your own adjectives, your own describing words, but also listen to my reading again and try and pull some out of the story if you can. You could start like this, just as a way of starting. You could start, the first setting of this story is set on a wet, dreary day in England. A young boy runs away from school and discovers and I've left it there. You can finish that now. You can finish that paragraph and tell me what the young boy discovers. Where is this house? What's it like? It's a very clear description in the book of how he feels about this house and what it looks like. Yeah. You should write a good paragraph for each, a chunky paragraph, children. You know, if you were in school, I'd be saying, you know, a good third of a page for each one. Okay? Remember, if you're struggling for vocabulary or you can only think of boring adjectives, you can use Thesaurus.com, which is an online thesaurus, which will help you improve your use of vocabulary. So if you think you don't want to use wet, cold day, you might want to put those words into the thesaurus and it will come up with something much better for you, much more interesting. I think that's it. So let's just recap again what I'm asking you to do. You're going to write two settings, one for the setting in England where the boy is with the house and how wet and cold it is, and then a description of the setting in Africa where we've got Bertie, the waterholes, the veld, the countryside around, and the lions of course as well, and the animals. So that's two short descriptions please, and then next time you see me I'll read you the next chapter of the Butterfly Line. Thanks boys and girls, bye for now.